Hi, my name is Greg Auld, and I'm from SWA's Economic and Financial Analysis Committee. And I thought I'd take just a few minutes to talk about Southwest's fleet, its large order book going forward, and our forecast for what that order book will translate to aircraft on the ramp for the next few years. You know, many of our pilots go to training and are told about a large number of airplanes coming on property. And that's true. In fact, if you look at the next few years, between the firm orders for the MAX 7 and the MAX 8 and a large number of options, you can see 446 aircraft right now planned or potentially planned to be delivered by the end of 2026. But we're not convinced all those airplanes will come on property. Certainly growth is in the future, but an airline of our size will probably grow between 4 and 4.5% of ASMs. And the aircraft necessary to do that, we will not need to exercise all of those options. So taking a look at that large order book, let's now translate that into a fleet that's going to be on the ramp to support our future flying forecast. SWA projects about 4.5% ASM growth between 2022 and 2026. This makes sense. It conforms with Wall Street expectations. It would be an appropriate growth rate coming out of the pandemic for an airline of this size. What kind of fleet would be required to support that? Well, we know the firm orders, then we have to figure out how many of the options have to be exercised to support that. That math works out to roughly 65% of the MAX 7 and MAX 8 options. We believe 90% of those options will be exercised for MAX 7s because the company is committed to a large renewal of the 700 fleet and to take advantage of the fuel efficiency of the MAX aircraft. Using that exercise rate, you can see on this chart, it maps out to about 800 aircraft next year, growing to 921 by the end of 2026. Now, another way to confirm this fleet total is to look historically at how many ASMs every aircraft on the ramp has produced. Going back to 2015 through 2019, somewhere between 210 to 212 million ASMs per tail. And again, projecting that ASM growth rate we saw going forward, you can see it takes about 920 or so aircraft to fly the projected 2026 ASMs. Now, if you look at this backwards, if we exercised all of those options, that would imply a fleet growth of 6.5% through 2026. And just for context, our fleet growth between 2000 and 2015 was just 3.8%. An airline of 700 aircraft is difficult to grow at the rates we saw in the 1980s and early 1990s. So wrapping all this up, we're excited about the opportunities this large order book provides for SWA pilots going forward. But we're mindful that eye-popping numbers like 114 tails next year, 90 the year after that, 86 the year after that, does not necessarily represent the actual number of aircraft we're going to see on the ramp. Sure, we are going to see growth, but we expect that growth to be typical for an airline of this size. 4%, 4.5% are numbers that make sense to SWA, not the 6 to 7% numbers that fully exercising that order book would suggest. We hope you've enjoyed this video. We look forward to talking to you again.